It's the Redirect Podcast. Search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 51 of the Redirect Podcast. It's Friday, July 20th, 2018. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing. I'm joined this week by Ashley and Patrick from the Black Truck team. Hey, gang.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome. We're celebrating 1 year of the Redirect Podcast.
Yes.
By my quick math I did prior to this, that's something between 25 and 30 hours of content we've recorded.
Wow. So is that when we aired our first public episode, or is that when we started the backlog?
I believe it was July 10th that we announced the podcast, and we had already recorded a backlog.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So we actually probably more like 35 or 40 hours of content because we recorded 6 or 7 prior to then.
Yeah.
So hat tip to all our listeners, to you guys, the Black Truck team, and really to our guests too that we've had on for making this happen. I think we really just set out to start a conversation and share some insights at first. And I think the feedback that we've received by a number of individuals locally and outside our region even has been really great. So.
Yeah, we're kind of a big deal.
Let's not go Neil Patel on this. So we've taken a couple weeks off, actually more than a couple weeks off, due to the 4th of July holiday. Everybody had summer vacations going on and things like that. And then last week we spent pretty much the entire week in Seattle, beautiful city, out at MozCon. So hanging out with other search marketing peers and professionals, and a really, really great time and a ton of good content, I think, from that event. 3 days of drinking the Kool-Aid, drinking from the fire hose, if you will, networking, and I always say a lot of bacon. So on this episode, we're really going to give everyone, I think, some highlights from MozCon 2018 and our key takeaways. So more like freestyle, open, round robin as usual. I have no idea what you guys are going to talk about. You have no idea what I'm going to talk about. But I'll kick it off. Big themes, big takeaways. Similar but a little bit different from when I was at Search Love in Boston in June. But finally, more focused efforts on the user. Mm-hmm. and say user experience and site performance, big overarching themes I'm talking about here. And then thinking a lot less about individual keywords and more on themes, which is something I think that we've done for quite some time now. But maybe something that people don't know that those might be a little bit more centered around is the concept of entities. And that was something that like Cindy Crum had kicked off, who was a guest of ours on the Redirect before. Multiple people throughout 3 days mentioned entities and entity search. And then kind of the final one there, structured data.
Which ties directly to the entities.
It ties directly into entities. It ties directly into site performance. And how do I tell the story of my site much better, easier, if you will, for Google to pick up on, crawl, get through, etc. So I'd love to just kind of kick it around and definitely talk about. It doesn't have to be those big themes, but I'm curious what you guys thought were what were the big presentations that really stood out to you. I think I have a few, but what were they that stood out, and maybe why, and how does that? What are the things that people need to be looking at moving forward if they're not taking that in consideration now?
I can jump in on that one. So right off the bat, the CEO, Moz, Sarah Bird, jumped in with an introduction to the week and just a couple little tidbits to get our everything salivating and ready to go. And one of the big reasons we're all there is to get better at search, right? And to get people to click on us and make us rise to the top. And she dropped the stat on us that 40% of desktop searches and 60% of mobile searches do not result in clicks. We know that Google wants us to stay on Google. Mm-hmm. They want us to be there and stay there and spend the money through them. And so I know that we're competing directly, playing nicely directly with Google, but when you put it to a number like that, then not only are we competing with other players in our industry or the given site, we're also now losing 40% of clicks on desktop and 60% of clicks on mobile that never result in anything. You might nail that keyword and you might be position number 1, position number 2, but you're not getting clicked.
Well, and I think that's a really great point because it certainly can be industry vertical specific. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about lately about how the travel and tourism space has been impacted by like Google's concierge and booking type mm-hmm. services amongst the big, Trivagos, Kayaks, Travelocities of the world. You take that theme alone and look at what disruption Google has caused, let alone the automotive segment and car shopping, buying, anything like that, anything related to commerce that Google can remove the friction. That's what you really have to watch out for. And not saying that I think, and you're not saying it's a pay-to-play space, and I don't think Sarah was getting at that. No. It's just she was very much saying, guys, we need to be thinking about this differently. And then kind of in closing on that too, Mike King from iPull Rank really challenged both sides. I think SEOs and Google or search engines to say like, all right, SEOs, where would you be without Google? And Google, where would you be without SEOs? Because we're challenging you and you're challenging us. So it's very interesting there, but I'll steer clear of the drama of that.
Did you have anything else?
With that, no. Okay. Other than like that really kind of jumped in and then John, I forget his last name, came in right with pretty
Alderson.
Stuff, immediately after he was the first presenter. But with Sarah's initial point, that really just kind of it blew my mind and it just kind of like stayed open,
Yeah. That was a good intro.
Yeah, I think Jono's was good. I don't know if you were going to talk about that at all, Ashley, but Jono Alderson from Yoast, everybody's favorite SEO plugin for WordPress. Basically, man, I don't know how to even say how he approached this, but basically what he did is he forced us all to look at what's next and beyond the usual, what we might deem blocking and tackling of SEO. Mm-hmm. So we're all fixing 404 pages, we're all doing 301 redirects, we're all optimizing titles and meta descriptions for click-through rate and focusing on content and this, that, and the other. But then it comes back to these blocking and tackling things. We still deal with 404s. We still deal with redirect loops. We still deal with, horribly deployed things, elements. And he kind of asked the question, who's at fault? Whose fault is this? Is it the developer? Like, the developer didn't do what they were supposed to do. Or is it the SEO's fault? That was the big question that I kind of put down in my notes. And it was really, there's still a huge lack of education and we can do better. And we really need to be thinking about how we can, break those silos. And there were a number of people, too, that talked about breaking silos and, working cross-team, cross-function to say, like, let me educate you on search and why these things are important. And then also maybe to get some influence from the developers on why certain things are important, too. I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, that was a really great presentation. I think the first one that I wanted to talk about was Taylor Coyles.
Mm-hmm. I have notes from her too.
Yeah. So her presentation.
You guys are very much fangirling over Taylor. It wasn't due to the thank you card that she sent us. But
No,
she was.
She did a great job.
She was on point.
Yep. So the name of her presentation was "Why Blog is a Misnomer for Our 2018 Content Strategy." And I think she had some great takeaways. And there were many presentations that were much more complicated than hers. I feel like her topic was very simple compared to many others, but that it was so straightforward and useful. I would say if you boiled it down to the essence of what the presentation was basically a blog may not make sense for your website, a traditional blog, and that looking at it as a resource library and presenting it for your audience in that way and with the whole UX and everything is a much more user-focused, customer-focused, human-focused way to do it.
I kind of saw it the same way too, with a little bit different thought process of not necessarily the blog being not right for your business, but rethinking the blog and reinventing the blog, and it's all the same elements are there. Readjust your content and make it resource driven and call it a resource center, a data center, or something like that. I've been writing on the web for 10 years now, and I have lots of dead blogs out there that went defunct, and the ones that always drove to the top were the ones that were how-to related or things that could be seen as a resource. And I have old items out there that are still getting traction and will still get search relevancy for things that I haven't even touched in 10 years. It's because it's a resource, it's a how-to type thing, and if that's the way it needs to go. It's people on so many different industries and the different work we do here at an agency level. We go across a lot of different types of industries here. And we have to real quick educate ourselves on the industry and then try to find a way to drive that traffic. Yeah. And like Ashley said, oftentimes it just doesn't make sense to write an article about something that, what are we reaching? What are we trying to get? What are we getting out of it? Yeah. And if it's not a resource, and if you're not pushing a blog, pushing a specific product, what are you writing it for?
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people ask, though, right? Is there's a lot of people that ask, like, if I'm not pushing my product or my service in this blog post, why am I doing it? When maybe we need to take a step back a little bit. I think that's what she kind of was getting at, too, is really that whole human-centered content talk. And we've certainly discussed that here. And we have a lot of in-depth conversations about it, I think, with brands and clients we get to work with, but just further affirms that notion that, like, when you're developing content, you really, really need to consider the audience, Pat, to your point, and not just your brand. So thinking about the problem solving. In this case, Taylor works for a company called Tortuga, travel backpacks and things like that. And it's very much a lot of how-tos, how can I pack in a backpack for a 2-week European vacation or something like that, right? I mean, there's questions that they're legitimate problems and needs that people are trying to solve. But then just even the reorganization of your blog and your content was really fascinating.
Yeah. She had mentioned something about how if you have your blog organized or your blog section of your site organized just to show the most recent entries, you might be missing out on putting some really great content in front of people who are landing on your website. And so, there's two different ways to look at it, from bringing in traffic through search, but then also engaging the visitor once they're on your site. So I may be taking a little bit of liberty saying this, but I believe she was kind of pushing towards, just even removing dates from your articles because it may not be the date of when it was published may not be relevant.
Well, I think that's been proven. I mean, even Will Reynolds has talked about it. He presented in his MozCon deck last year, even talked about and showed live screenshots of users and what they're clicking on. A user generally, unless it's news, could give two less about the date on it if it's helpful. Does it fulfill your need? They don't care. No different than PPC ads. I don't care if it costs you, the advertiser, $1 if it answers my question and gets me what I need. Don't care. And the way that they reorganize their blog, I think, at Tortuga is very super, super helpful. Based off of, I was trying to listen to her so much. I took very few notes, actually, with her. But it was more centered around what those top kind of focus areas were for them, I think.
There was a lot of UX in it too. She started off saying they completely redid their blog in 2017. They redesigned the way it appears, made it the UX way cleaner, way more modern, more slick, and got rid of what was like a big sidebar.
Yeah.
And it made it just more user friendly.
Threw the traditional blog format out the window.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Stephanie Briggs touched on it too. She had a similar approach when it came to content, was looking at those top page types, page counts, velocity, and things like that, and look at those. This was more search-driven content strategies. But if you took that and blended it with what Taylor was talking about, I mean, my God, some serious power from your content marketing and what you really should be doing moving forward. What else? That's just day one, guys. You better keep digging here.
No, that was a good jump, and we ended up having breakfast with her randomly at a big conference, or the cafeteria, basically, and had further good discussions. Anyways, so another one I want to talk about. I'm going to go to the end of day 3 on the other end. Dana DiTomaso.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Dana's great.
Yeah. It's not the first time I've heard her speak, and she spoke completely different stuff this time, and I've really grown to like her. The takeaway I got from her, what I wrote in my notes is monitoring is data, reporting is insight.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's great.
There's a difference with. We just actually had a conversation about this in the office here. During a team meeting is about how I personally feel about the way we're presenting data to our clients when we do these reports. We're just giving them numbers, and that's monitoring.
Yeah. But there's a little bit of defense there.
Yeah. No, I'm not throwing myself under the bus or what we do under the bus.
The insight comes from our
it's
personalized report.
Right. We're not just giving a sheet of numbers to them. We do. Obviously give some insight in there as well. I feel like we need to do more of that. And I would like to dig deeper and improve upon the numbers element of it and give them customized numbers that aren't just metrics that they can go look up themselves.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I think it's to your point, I think, and it really in summary of that, Pat, is the report customized to what that particular brand, what that audience, what that client needs. So whether you're an in-house SEO and you need to report up to the C-suite or other marketing professionals you work with, or if you are an agency and you need to report to your clients and things like that, really be looking at what you're doing from a reporting function and say, hey, how can I improve this? What are these really goals and conversions, or are they, like we've talked before, are they vanity metrics?
Mm-hmm.
And, we shy away from vanity metrics, but I think certainly there's some we all know there's bad reporting out there.
Yeah. One of the questions Dana asked was, are clients actually reading our reports?
Right. That's her question, yeah.
We said the same thing yesterday. In about a year ago, we revamped our process in-house here, and it was based on client feedback.
Yep.
We went around and asked some of our select clients, and they said, like, yeah, your summary is great. Oftentimes, we don't even feel we need to click through, and we just read the summary, and the summary is what we need, man. That's what we use, and that's what we like, and that's great. So just keep doing the summary.
Which is great. I think if you have... if you're working with, in our case, clients that thankfully have our the utmost trust of us and what we're doing, which we certainly don't take. You don't take that lightly. That's a big deal. But also, if you're in a position where you're in-house and if your marketing team has a lot of trust in what you're doing, they may not look at that report, and that's okay. But how else can you feed them that information that can impact them? For us, it's like a digest and a summary. If that's written, if it's video, if it's a phone call, whatever you need to do to get that point across on a monthly, bi-monthly, whatever your reporting timeline is. To your point, Pat, how can you do more? How can you do better in that and reformat it? So I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think the most delightful part of Dana's presentation for me was when she showed us an example dashboard in Data Studio where she had made the headings instead of page views. It's like, what pages are your visitors looking at or something like that. Instead of channels, so that would be organic search, direct, paid search, referrals. So instead of a heading that says channels, there's the heading above, how do visitors get to your website?
Yeah, the customization.
The customization and making human-centered dashboards is, I kind of just made that up.
I think, but I think it's right. I mean, even if you look at like one of our screens, I'm not giving away anything here, but like one of our screens simply says like where are your most engaged users coming from, or where are your most engaged visitors coming from, and that's built off of a certain set of metrics or KPIs that say, organic search based off of these things, or direct visits based off of these things, because it gives you a snapshot. It helps, in layman's terms, anybody should be able to look at that and go, oh, interesting. Our most engaged users come from here. I think that's really, really, to your point, making it human-centered so people understand it's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. What about other takeaways? I mean, from the local search perspective, there were a couple of really great ones. Of course, Rob Bucci from Stat always throws down a bunch of data. Great tool, so he has access to a bunch of information. But I think what he identified for us was this idea of like every search is local.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's a difference between local and hyper-local. And, questions is Google able to define a user's local intent? And does Google respond to local intent differently? And, Rob and his team at Stat are very good at determining what kind of intent. Like they're very, very focused on intent and intent by region, and just talking about, do base searches have local intent versus those that people include things like near me or in a specific city. And what he's saying is expect to see more aggregate type sites in SERPs for geo-modifier keywords versus near me. So when I grab my phone and I'm like, I travel to a place and I'm like, Italian restaurants near me or restaurants near me. What he's saying versus say restaurants Grand Rapids or restaurants Seattle, he's saying that the geo modifier, the one that has Seattle or Grand Rapids, Michigan tagged onto the end of it, is going to have more of your aggregator sites like Yelp, TripAdvisor, top 10 places or the top most expensive restaurants to eat in Seattle, that type of thing, versus near me. So it's that difference of localization versus hyper-local, more specific. And I think that, I think I still will stand behind statements I made before that, like, I think between Google Shopping on the paid side and local search, like those are two of the most volatile areas that I see in search right now. Is there anything that you guys picked up on? Darren Shaw spoke on local too. He had a couple really great points about getting reviews. Reviews was a big thing.
Yes, and that was one that stuck out to me too. So of course I talk a lot about reviews, but one takeaway from his presentation that was new for me, not like mind-shattering, but new, and I think something that can definitely be used more, is even in your newsletters, if you have an email list for your customers or potential customers, in a newsletter, highlight a user's review that stands out to you, that you think is a good representation of your business, and then include a link for your readers to also leave you a review. I think that's great in terms of presenting a third-party, quote-unquote, recommendation for your business, but then also giving that little prompt to leave a review. And if someone reads something positive, they might be reminded of a positive interaction they've had with your company and be inspired to leave a review. So I thought that was a great kind of natural way to include that in a medium that I would not have really thought about before. Besides, like, hey, give us a review. Like, this just took it a little bit step further, I guess.
You pointed on too the one having chatted with Darren before, and I like a lot of the content that White Spark kicks out. It was never really clear to me before until his presentation, but it goes back to Pat, your original statement. Google is sending less people to your site from local listings, meaning they're making you take the user, more steps. It's not so obvious to go to the website from there. So that's where reviews can really make an impact because they can bring you up higher in that local pack type thing, as well as it's going to want to make you take that extra step to click through or to visit the location or to do business with or something like that. I think is really a good thing to think about. Yeah. Well, what about machine learning and Brittany Muller and
that stuff was fantastic, but like I really had to focus hard.
Yeah, no, she went super geek. I think she and a couple others. I don't know. Out of everybody, I really think that she went way deep on that. And it was awesome.
It was awesome, and it was incredible. And like, if I could get that nailed down, give me 40 hours to focus on that and come out on the other end. And like, guys, I figured it out. Do it. Watch
it's amazing.
This. But I don't. I think I would need like a 4-year degree to get that.
Yeah, I mean,
but I don't remember the time frame that she gave, but she walked us through a machine learning experiment that she had done herself.
I think she's about a month, maybe.
Okay.
How green did she start, though? I mean, she seems pretty.
Well, I mean, Brittany's a little bit. I mean, she's. I think she certainly is a dabbler of hacking into things, but still at the same time, I think that she gave a really great deck on machine learning, and her presentation, the focus was machine learning for SEOs. But what was neat is that I love the way she kind of said, let's talk about two different types. There's supervised and unsupervised. There's labeled versus non-labeled. So all of a sudden she kept us really broad level, and then we just went into every column. But I mean, all the way down to dialogue flow and actions in Google and how that can define what is going to become small talk with our personal devices, and insights on small talk can give us insights on keyword research for voice. And then she gave examples, algorithmia.com. You've got to do quite a bit of legwork here, but if you had, say, a large e-commerce site, this would be a great fit for. It can be so time-consuming to go through a site like that has maybe garbage meta descriptions, meta page descriptions, or none at all, hence garbage, and write them and craft them, uniquely and relevant. And basically what she showed us was a way that has been done or that she was able to use machine learning to have an input and output that was actually pretty good, where you could easily rip through 1,000 different SKUs and have a unique meta page description for each one of them. And to Ashley's point, we had a little sidebar conversation during that.
We both did.
Yeah, I think we all kind of said, "Yeah, that's great. I wouldn't want to do it for everything, but man, there are a few enterprise-sized sites that I would go, that makes sense."
Yeah. So you guys had that kind of side of the conversation. I think you and I had our side, which is you have to start with content on the page for that to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's drawing a conclusion from what it's reading on the page, and if there's nothing on the page for it to read, then it can't produce output.
Agreed. So it's a little bit more that you're guiding it, you're supervising it a little bit. So no, it's really, really great stuff.
I wanted to do you have anything else to say on that? I wanted to jump into Heather Physiok.
Yeah.
And she talked about the effectiveness of case studies and your a proof of concept. I don't want to get too deep into it because again, she was pretty technical and badass on that. But it's taking your case studies and kind of turning them into more exciting documents, I think.
Yeah.
Making them more user-friendly or readable. And so when you're then down the road trying to sell the concept to a next client or your boss, they can buy into it better.
We just had the same conversation the other day, Pat. You and I did, and Heather's a great person, and I think we've all both. I know Pat, you and I have had a number of great conversations with Heather, and understanding that because of VML, who she's employed by, is a massive, international, global type agency, and the title of her presentation was Your Red Tape Toolkit, and it's how to win trust and get your search work implemented. When you're working, typically the larger the organization, the larger the brand, the harder it is to get certain strings to pull in your favor, especially from a search professional's perspective, because we can really, throw things off. And the biggest takeaway there is taking note of your client or taking note of the brand that you're working with. So again, whether you're in-house, understand who you're communicating to, brand, ethos, style, that type of thing. If you're agency side, taking note of your client and how they really work. Some of them, it might be really easy to sell it to, and understanding what their maturity level is for search and where they're at in that. And then how do you make a case for doing what you need to do, whether that's data backed, whether it's a pretty picture, whatever you need to do to your point, tell the story better. And the conversation that Pat and I had just the other day was literally that. Like, in some cases, in order to get this approved, we have to do a really, really great job at mapping it out and what it's going to look like. Even if that means, like, as an SEO, we have to dig in and create wireframes, or something like that. If we're completely changing the way that they do something, it's not just text on a page. It's not just a spreadsheet. It's not just, a Word doc. Like we actually have to get the sketch pad out and show them, we're going to go from here to here, and these are the reasons why.
And sometimes in the case of that gases company, it might, after our initial research, we come back and say, so we're going to take everything and start over.
Yeah. Everything
that you have, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
And they came around, they bought into it, but we had to sell it to them, and it took them a while to bite on it, and it wasn't an overnight thing, and it's something that we committed to, and ultimately it hasn't launched yet, obviously. It's going to greatly improve. Yeah,
and you're talking about in that case almost like a complete site. Well, it's a complete site rebuild.
It will be.
But I also think too, in terms of that red tape, there's a lot of myths, misnomers that, like, as SEOs, we're going to come in and we're going to tell somebody that they have to completely scrap what they're doing and redo it. And I think as search professionals, you really should kind of front load that conversation and be like, no, we need to work within what you have. Mm-hmm. In this case, we did that, and we kind of got it to a 7. But really, to get it to a 10, in order to get it to a 10, there were some major, major things that need to happen. And we had to make that case. Others involved in that type of a project have to make that case. And be able to break those barriers down. Content's probably one of the biggest. Another big area we get into that. That's I'm looking at Ashley, and nobody can see that. And I'm like, Ashley, this. But it really is, right? It's that notion of, like, you have a language that's a style with your brand, but man, if you don't come out and say what it is that you do, like, not everybody speaks Black Truck Media language, right? We could sit here and throw acronyms around all day long, but quite frankly, if a client calls it SEO optimization, as technically wrong as that is, maybe you got to tell it, it's SEO optimization for them. I don't know. I mean,
that's how client education. You
totally.
You talk their language at the beginning, and then you just put in You pepper in good corrections.
Is that how it works?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. No. I think it's really, really, really good. So a lot of good things from the local front. Any other good takeaways, guys?
There was so much on technical SEO too, like the more
Yes.
in-depth stuff,
Yes.
and I didn't. A lot of it was very in the weeds, for me at least, and so I didn't take a lot of notes. But I did have this little quotable piece from Alexis Sanders' presentation. She said, "Technical SEO is like roots. Without a strong foundation, a site is like a tumbleweed." And
Ooh.
I just love how that speaks to how important it is to have your ducks in a row when it comes to technical SEO.
And to piggyback off of that too, a couple different things. Tools, very apparent. There are a lot of tools that are mentioned,
Yes.
by various speakers on stage, and there's not any one right or wrong tool,
Yep.
but have multiples. If you're a firm and you're only using one tool and relying on one tool, if you have 3 tools, you can get an average and really see the big picture because what you end up noticing, there were a couple different, I think Dr. Pete talked about things.
Russ Jones.
Russ Jones totally killed everybody's hype.
Yeah, he was a big Debbie Downer.
Yeah, that's just, man.
In a good way, he was the guy that said you got to look at more tools.
Yeah, Russ came in as the second presenter. He came right in after Ollie Gardner on day 2. So we come in after Ollie Gardner, which I don't even know. Ollie, do you drink coffee at all? But at 9:00 in the morning or 9:30 in the morning, he's ready to go.
Uh-huh.
And then you get Russ Jones that comes in and is just like, you know what? Fuck everything you know.
Your data isn't right.
Yeah, and basically says Google Search Console is shitty data. Google Analytics often counts real search engines as visitors. They mislabel well-known search engines. And in this, bad information creates asymmetry. Asymmetry creates advantage. So you and a competing firm have identical knowledge. So there's a lot of shitty data out there, and everybody is working within the same pool of shitty data. And so the Russ, Dr. Pete, and a few others, Mike King, basically say, guys, you need to have multiple tools. You need to have your hands in kind of multiple pools, pull the data together to really help you understand the landscape and what's going on. And
with Russ, he also said we need to demand better data.
Yeah, I agree.
From our sources too, which I thought was a great. I think that was a kind of a theme too of the conference was, you kind of touched on it, but trying to maybe not collaborate, but give feedback more and try to take the reins a little bit more for the future of search.
So that could be the second half of Jono's presentation that started day 1. And he started off by saying, I hate doing the work, I want to do the research and find the tools to fix it. And then at the end, he basically wrapped it up by saying, we need to have a better internet. And the only way we can get better internet is if we're all talking to each other and working together.
Agreed.
to make it better.
So if you're talking about tools, your SEO or your developer, don't just get stuck into Google Search Console. You better have some stuff in your back pocket. You better have some, I'm going to say it, I think you should have some paid premium tools that you're working with. If you're an SEO worth your salt, I really think you do. The free version of Screaming Frog is only going to get you so far type of thing. And the same thing too, just like a local SEO, Mike Ramsey touched on it. Don't get stuck in just Google My Business. Mm-hmm. That's not local SEO. There's so much more. So again, it's that looking for more, using different tools, getting different data in, and comparing and figuring out what's my next move.
Yeah.
So.
And the gentleman, day 3.
You're digging.
Tom Capper, local SEO without physical presence.
I have notes on him too.
Yeah.
Which Tom was great because Tom's from Distilled and he's out of London.
Yeah.
And which for us as a US-based firm is all right, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
Right?
Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, I just had
if you have any more to say.
I just had a couple takeaways. So his presentation was on local SEO when you don't have a physical location, which is can be an issue for many businesses that don't have a brick and mortar. So he talked a lot about local landing pages, having local landing pages on your site, and making your on-page copy local and scalable, as he said. So a couple suggestions he had made was talking about common purchases in the area for that landing page, pricing comparisons versus other locations, which definitely could have some use cases depending on the situation. And then like the nearest branches and their opening times.
Totally.
There was some good.
Yeah, and that's where content-based, or articles in your resource center can be a lot more relevant.
And remembering that local is not just for brick and mortar businesses.
Right.
That a good chunk of searches have local intent, or a good chunk of searches are done on a mobile device too. And you just have to understand the landscape and really try and, getting reviews for a service-based business that doesn't, even if you do have a physical location and you don't see clients there or you don't sell product there, it still doesn't mean that you shouldn't try and get some reviews or shouldn't try and get some traction around your name in the local market. So, no, really good stuff. Anything else, guys? We're running out of time.
Yeah, nothing that I want to dig too deep into. I'm looking forward to the transcripts and videos to be available.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, pretty
so
soon it'll be. I think the advantage when you go to conferences like that, MozCon, Search Love, Inbounder, big thing is the videos afterwards. So you take some spotlight notes here and there, go back in a few months later and rewatch things. And
I rely on Ashley's notes because I'm a terrible note taker. I know she's a great note taker. So it's
you mean you didn't transcribe it yourself?
No, that was a different guy.
Okay. But I think, really, so really moving forward, really be thinking about the user. How can you make their experience better? How can you make your site performance better? Thinking less about individual keywords, think more in themes. Challenge your data, challenge your teams, work closer with your design and development teams to really try and kind of put a better process in place and win more traffic from search. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, happy 1 year to the Redirect podcast, and until next time, good luck.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.